Originally in part 2, I had meant to focus on the differences in the Shenmue Saturn builds compared to the Dreamcast final releases. However, before we dive into that, let's revisit the Old Man in the Peach Tree demo. First and foremost, I want to give a special shout out to the YouTube user CrazyDuplicate for reminding me about an interview with Yu Suzuki for the Russian magazine Gameland. In this interview, Yu Suzuki gives a few more details about this demo, so let's go over some of the details here. Of course, the link to the Shenmue Dojo post containing English translations of this interview can be found in the description. Some major points to add are as follows. The prototype was meant to be more or less without heavier thoughts or themes. In Shenmue, Ryo's father was murdered. In this prototype, events like that do not occur. Suzuki also states that Shenmue on the Saturn was merely a playground for testing, especially when Shenmue was ultimately decided to be a Dreamcast title. Sega apparently never got to the stage of deciding whether or not they wanted to release Shenmue on the Saturn. I encourage you all to read the full translation on Shenmue Dojo's website. It is a good read. From this point on, Shenmue on the Saturn was pretty much unknown to the general public. Not too much pre-release content was shown. However, there was speculation within the hardcore gaming communities that Yu Suzuki might have indeed been working on something. The answers to this question became clear on November 27th, 1998, with the release of Virtua Fighter 3 TB in Japan. The Japanese release of this game came with an extra disc. This disc was simply titled Project Berkeley, and it contained what I personally feel is the most important piece of Shenmue historical media. Special thanks to Rakim and Kiyuu for translating this video. This piece of legendary content contains so much information to unpack that it will require its own video to fully decompress the information provided within. It brings me to tears each and every time I watch it. In this video, Yu Suzuki explains his previous projects and how they led up to the creation of Shenmue. If you haven't seen it, definitely go give it a watch. He goes into fine detail about the theoretical side. The video itself also shows many characters which we haven't even seen yet. It just goes to show how much planning was already into the series by this point. After the release of Virtua Fighter 3 TB in Japan, not much else was shown to the general gaming community related to Shenmue Saturn, as the marketing solely focused on the Dreamcast release. However, many fans sat in anticipation for this upcoming classic. With the official review of Shenmue occurring on December 20th, 1998 at the Yokohama International Assembly Hall, the stage was set for what was seemingly to be one of the most important games of all time. As we all know, Shenmue released to great acclaim. It established a true spot in our hearts. As we all completed the journey through Yokosuka, we were all ready to dock into Hong Kong and continue the venture into Shenmue 2. The wait for Shenmue 2, especially if you lived in North America, was an adventure in itself. The thoughts of where the story goes. Will we find LanDC? Who the heck is this girl we keep seeing? Why did Ewell have to die? All of these and more just made our hearts burn with fury to get further into the story. Then it happened. Shenmue 2 was released in Japan and Europe in 2001. The North American port, however, was ultimately cancelled due to the issues with the Dreamcast failing and Microsoft taking on Sega exclusives. As sad as this was for us in North America, there is a blessing in disguise, because in return we got Shenmue 2 on a second console unlike the first, before the HD re-releases, of course. When Shenmue 2 finally released on the Xbox in 2002 in North America, those of us who missed out on the Dreamcast release finally played through the game. At the end of Shenmue 2, our minds were left with so many questions, so many thoughts, theories, and much more. The modding community for Shenmue was also fully underway, as it became clear that the discs for Shenmue 1 and 2 contained unused assets that could give us clues about the future of the games. But while the games contained clues about the future, upon beating Shenmue 2 on the Dreamcast or Xbox, players were met with a historical glimpse into Shenmue's past. And so we've reached the end of part 2 of the ongoing series. I hope you are enjoying it so far. In part 3 we will take a closer look at the Shenmue Saturn video and compare it to the retail releases on the Dreamcast. Until then, be safe, be healthy, and as always, thanks for watching.